right, Ruben, first and foremost, your thoughts ahead of Melbourne City at home on Saturday?
Yeah, it'll be a really stiff challenge for us. Obviously I've only had a short period with the group, but they've been working extremely hard, and we know our responsibility to the fans and the members, and we know how hard we want to work. So it should be a really good game. Really excited.
And then, obviously you had your first game last Friday night against Wellington, the league leaders. A really positive performance. We had them on the back foot for long periods and got a draw late on. How do you sort of see that match?
Yeah, look, I thought we played really well. There's still some areas that I feel like we need to improve moving forward. But in terms of, the non-negotiables, effort, attitude, given the circumstances of everything that happened last week, just with all the changes and even the injuries that we had to pick up and make changes on the run, losing, Tommy just before kick-off, and then Jack Hingett and also Henry Hoare, I think before 35-minute mark. So we had a lot of changes, and I think, like I said after the game, it's a real testament to the players and where their heads are at, and they really put a shift in for the club, and that made me really proud. But like I say, some areas to improve, especially in our transition phases for sure.
And those players you just mentioned, Henry and Jack, were able to sort of overcome the knocks they picked up on the weekend, are in the squad for Saturday?
Yeah, look, we're like the walking wounded at the moment, to be honest. There's a lot of guys in and out of training sessions and are modified, and we're just doing our best. But I'm trying to make a real focus on the collective, that we need everybody. I think last week's game was a great example for that, and the players that stepped in tricky circumstances, really did a top job. So, the focus is on being together and on sticking to a process. I'm trying to get as much detail as I can, without making their ears bleed and making them bored to death. But they're listening and they're working hard, and for as long as I've got that, there's room to improve.
And I guess on the players that are available, it was brilliant to sort of see Keegan and Marco both out there playing an orange shirt. What have you sort of made of those two so far? Yeah,
great. I think, I'd like to think that everyone can kind of see the difference that they make in terms of, their footballing ability and technical ability. Marco's obviously not played for a long time, so it was just nice to get him back on the pitch, and straight away, I felt like he brought the crowd into it. He does that through experience and also quality on the ball. Keegs is a little bit similar. He's not played in a long time, and he had that send-off, which was, a bit of a disruption to his loads and how he was going confidence-wise. But, all things considered, the both of them, they played really well, and they played their part in that comeback, to get a point. So there's areas to improve. They still need a lift, and they still need to improve. But yeah, I thought good performances and good starting points for them.
To say the least, it's probably been a whirlwind few weeks for you. You've been in Brisbane, not even 2 weeks now. How have you sort of, found the group and the environment and being at the club here?
Yeah, first class. Like I understand the difficulties, for the whole of club admin, playing roster, the staff, the football staff. When you have changes like that, with different change of coaches, it can start to get a little bit confusing and a little bit, hard to know exactly what direction that we're headed in. But what I've kind of learned in a quick space of time is there's a lot of good people here, good players, some great staff, on the pitch and in the office. And, people are really pulling together. And to be honest, even though it's been a crazy time, it's been certainly a bit of a roller coaster, I've really enjoyed my first 2 weeks here. And it's a fantastic club, like I said, with a rich history, and I think everyone wants to get it back to that. But to do that, it's a build and it's a process, and those things do take time. I know it's cliche, but they do, and I'm right at the start of it. So I want to add some stability to the club, especially to the playing group. I want to give them, some clarity around their roles and their responsibilities, and make sure that they're focused to put their best foot forward. And I think that's important. If we can get it right on the pitch, then the rest of the club will follow suit. So that's my focus.
There's, no doubt there's a lot of quality players in this side. How far do you sort of think this side can go, and what are sort of your outlooks for the remainder of the season?
It's very hard for me to kind of put an expectation or a limit on them. My expectations as a coach and a football person are always to win everything, and I was disappointed last week that we didn't get the win, if that makes sense. But I also understand the context of where everything's at. So all in all, it was a good point. But I want us to just focus on each game, take it on its merits. Again, it's a cliche, but it's probably never been more relevant and more true in this situation. It's to focus on City, they're a really good team, and they're coming off a disappointing result for them. I'm sure they're going to look to bounce back, and obviously on their day they're good enough to, you know, to give everyone a bit of a toweling up. So we have to be at our best, and that's why the focus needs to be on us. We need to look within. We need to make sure that our structures and our process and our attitude and our effort and our willingness to fight for the club and for the jersey, we need to make sure that that's at its best. I feel if we do that, we're good enough, you know, with our best players on the park. Obviously, there's a few that are out at the moment, but, you know, we're good enough to compete with anyone and good enough to beat anyone. And I think this playing roster's shown that. So it's just about trying to find that cohesion.
And just finally, you, I'm sure you've been to Suncorp a number of times as an opposition player, but you had your first taste as, you know, being on Brisbane Roar's side last Friday night. You know, there was a good, you know, sort of active home support there that's been resilient and stuck without the team throughout this season, through thick and thin. You know, how hungry are you, I suppose, to give them, you know, the team they can be proud of and show them that fight that they're desperate to see?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, a little bit of context, you know, everyone in my family is born in Queensland. My dad, my two elder brothers, my mum, you know, she came from Holland when she was 6 years old, and Queensland's home. Every single relative I have lives in Queensland. So growing up, you know, Easter holidays, Christmas holidays, everything was up to Queensland, road tripping up to see family. And so I've kind of seen firsthand growing up watching State of Origin. Everyone in my family's going for Queensland and I'm going for the Blues. But I've kind of seen firsthand what Queensland are capable of in terms of their spirit, just as people. They've got a real us versus them mentality. And I felt that even when I was a player going to Suncorp and playing against Brisbane, you know, I was lucky enough to play against, you know, the Ange team in that era. I was also part of the Newcastle team that ended that 36-game unbeaten run. So I kind of know what it's like to be here as underdogs and to be coming here. I know how difficult it is. But I also felt the other day really quickly, you know, the support there was great and they were really behind their team. And I know that there's more supporters out there that you know, may be hurting or may be frustrated. And this playing group, you know, if they can keep showing their best and getting some results, and they can bring those guys back to the stadium, and that's what I want to do. I want to get as many people as we can through the gates and play it's a style of football that, you know, gives them belief and gives them some hope that the club's heading in the right direction.